Hi, I'm Astoria, Oregon Mayor Bruce Jones with a COVID-19 update for Friday, the 13th of November, 2020. First, thanks for everything you've all done to help keep us safe in Clatsop County. Our infection rate is among the lowest in the state, and I appreciate your sacrifices very much. Nationally, infections continue rising to record levels. The pandemic is surging exponentially. Just yesterday, there were 163,400 new cases nationwide. And the rise in infections is well beyond what can be explained just by increased testing alone. In many areas of the country, the capacity of the healthcare system is being overwhelmed with the combination of normal healthcare and COVID hospitalizations. Unfortunately, despite this surge being predicted months ago, there's no national testing strategy or national comprehensive plan for combating the coronavirus epidemic. And there's no expectation that there will be any such plans in place before January 20. In the meantime, the safety of our community is dependent on the individual actions of each and every one of us. In Oregon, contact tracing of infections has shown the most common cause of community spread is social gatherings. Specifically, both small and large gatherings of people not from the same household, not wearing masks, not maintaining physical distancing, and not washing their hands. These types of activities are a reason that in each of the last several weeks in Oregon, new records have been set for the number of infections. While we're doing well relative to much of the rest of the nation, and Clatsop County is doing well relative to much of the rest of Oregon, the rapid increase in infections is extremely troubling. There are real concerns about taxing the capacity of the healthcare system. Today, the governor announced a 2-week freeze from Wednesday, November 17 through December the 2nd. These measures are intended to limit the spread of COVID-19 and conserve hospital capacity. My preference would have been for the state to implement a regionalized approach based on local conditions, since Clatsop County's caseload per 100,000 is among the lowest in the state. However, since the rise in cases is so large and so rapid, both nationally and in parts of Oregon, it's unrealistic to expect our relative good fortune in Clatsop County to continue this winter without some additional measures. Some of the new restrictions announced today are as follows. Restaurants and bars will be limited to takeout. Gyms and indoor recreation and entertainment and indoor venues are closed. Capacity at stores will be limited to 75%. Indoor visits to long-term care facilities will be prohibited. Businesses must close offices to the public and shift employees to work from home where possible. Personal service businesses generally may remain open. Outdoor recreation is strongly encouraged and parks and playgrounds will remain open. Schools, which meet the metrics of the state, may stay open. And childcare remains open. Travelers returning from out of state are encouraged to quarantine at home for 14 days after their return, and non-essential travel should be canceled. As is always the case with these new rules, the devil's in the details. So I strongly encourage you to go online and read the guidance very carefully for your specific situation. You can find the guidance at govstatus.egov.com/OR-COVID-19, and I'll post that link on my Mayor Bruce Jones Facebook page. Some counties which are hotspots will remain in a freeze for longer than 2 weeks. For Astoria and Clatsop County, being released from the freeze after 2 weeks is dependent on our infections decreasing to standards that will be set by the state. So please, let's all continue to do everything we can to get our county open back up again as soon as possible by religiously following the public health guidelines we're so familiar with. Wear a mask, keep 6 feet apart, wash your hands regularly, and avoid social gatherings with people not in your household. I chose to get a flu vaccine this year, even though I normally, frankly, don't, because doing so might help ease the burden on our healthcare system. Please consider getting a flu vaccine yourself if you haven't already for that very reason. Certain of our workers and certain of our businesses continue to bear a disproportionate share of the economic burden of this pandemic. Please continue to support our local businesses. shop locally, order carry-out food. If you're sending gifts this holiday season outside of the area, consider buying your gifts locally and mailing them yourself or having your local merchant ship them. Or go to a local merchant in the town where your relative lives and order a gift certificate from them rather than going to one of the global conglomerate mail order services. I want to thank all of you for having helped us thus far slow the spread of the virus by practicing social distancing, by washing your hands and wearing a mask and following other public health guidelines. I also want to thank our local healthcare providers and our Clatsop County public health workers for being vigilant and ready to respond to the pandemic. 6 months ago, in one of my messages, I said my goal for this pandemic was that our community could emerge at the end of it and look back and be glad that we have one of the best health records in the state, with as few hospitalizations and hopefully no deaths, or as few deaths as possible. And that still is my hope for all of us. And I want to thank all of you for everything you've done to get us there so far. So thank you and stay safe.